That's okay.
No, I have my bag. I'm not needing. I think I'm not needing. All right. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Hare Krishna. It's July 5th, 2024. This is the anniversary of the disappearance day of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura. We're here at Gopal Eco Village and Sanctuary, the Gopal House. Just for those online, here's beautiful altar designed with artistic flair. Sarasvati, Danielle. So we have Anasuya's here, Hari Gopal, Nitya Gopal, Bhakti George, Sarasvati, Rukmini was here. Rukmini was here. Might be around somewhere. Okay. So start some indication mantras, create auspiciousness for our gathering and for this entire vision and project. Om Jnana-timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayamupakadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utaparakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitan Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitam Cha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagat Pate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshware Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpata Yubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanan Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prestaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine. Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gravani Pracharine, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine. Namo Bhaktivinodaya Satchidananda Namine Gaura Shakti Svarupaya Rupanuga Varayate. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Satchidananda Bhaktivinoda, who is transcendental energy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He is a strict follower of the Goswamis, headed by Srila Rupa. Okay, so here we are at Gopal House, Gopal Eco Village, Cal Sanctuary, and it's the anniversary of the disappearance day of Bhaktivinoda Thakura. So it's transcendental divine arrangement, very very appropriate, complete and perfect arrangement. So Bhaktivinoda Thakura is known for many things. We could have many days and courses about Bhaktivinoda Thakura. Books have been written about his characters, activities. There are so many facets of his character, pastimes, and activities to be in awe about. This morning we read Srila Prabhupada giving a lecture in London, 1969, on the appearance day of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura. And so one thing for sure, Bhaktivinoda Thakura is especially, I think, just the especially famous for is such a visionary. He's such a visionary. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura there in the 1800s, he was foreseeing, he was predicting that he'd said the Russians, the Americans, the Greeks, the Europeans, the French, the British, the Spanish, they're all going to come together and chant Jai Satchinandan, Jai Satchinandan. Satchinandan's a name for Lord Chaitanya, the beautiful son of Mother Sachi. That all over the world, they're going to chant the name of Lord Chaitanya. They're going to come to Mayapur and that's happening now. Just to get some context. So at that time, yeah, I mean, India was a subjugated country under the control of the British. The whole principle, the whole conception was that India and Vedas, this is a very inferior, barbaric, primitive culture. Actually, even if you read the first Sanskrit English dictionary, the translator, a British fellow, I think his name is Williams, okay, British fellow, and so he needed to defend. Why are you even giving some dictionary of this primitive, barbaric language, culture? He said, well, we really want to understand their language so that we can destroy their culture completely. I mean, he says that straight out. Says that straight out. And so the idea is to bring in the Western culture into, okay. Actually, if we look at linguistic science, we find that in one sense, there's the whole evolutionary theory, Darwinian evolution. And in the field of linguists, they can't even pretend that it exists. Okay, right? Because basically, like the most ancient language, Sanskrit, or they might say Proto-European, Proto-Indo-European, except that they don't have any evidence of anything called Proto-Indo-European. But because they don't want to give Sanskrit the credit of being the mother language. So Sanskrit. And it's known in terms of sophistication, organization, structure. Sanskrit is far more evolved and structured and organized and sophisticated than like modern English, French, German, like that. Far more. And then even if you get like a few thousand years after Sanskrit, you get Hebrew. Also, that's much more structured. Okay, so basically, in their conception, you basically have cavemen grunting, but with a club, and then boom, Sanskrit just kind of pops out. Boom. I haven't seen any even attempted explanation. Okay, so you clearly got de-evolution. Anyway, so Bhaktivinoda comes. So India is a subjugated country in fear, this and that, and he's predicting with full confidence, oh yes, the British, the Americans, the French, the Germans, they're all going to come to the movement of Lord Chaitanya, and they're going to form projects in places like Groveland, Florida. Yeah, so quite a vision of it. In 1896, he published was it the teachings and precepts of Lord Chaitanya, and he sent it. So Prabhupada, because the pretty much the third or fourth center that Prabhupada established was in Montreal. His followers established, and Prabhupada was in Montreal. He actually gave intensive training. It's interesting to those three couples, Yamuna and Guru Das, and Shama Sundar and Malati, and Mukunda and Janaki. It's interesting that in Montreal, Prabhupada spent intensive time with them, and he gave them intensive training in the instruments and the music and the kirtan. It's very fascinating, because generally speaking, if you look at Prabhupada's letters, and they ask him, because a lot of, like, let's say in the early days, especially, those who came to Prabhupada's movement, they were more towards like musicians than, say, accountants. Okay, a lot of the hippie culture, things, music, and even a lot of professional musicians. And Prabhupada would generally say, you can look at his letters, the main thing is the devotion. We're not musicians, we're devotees of Krishna. There are many letters like that, because he didn't want them to get distracted. But he particularly gave a lot of attention in Montreal to these 6 disciples in the music. And then they just so happened, when they went to England, they established friendship with the most famous musicians on the planet. Interesting. Okay. So anyhow, while Prabhupada was in Montreal, one of his disciples, Janardhan, who was scholarly and intellectual, he was in a university library in Montreal, and he found this publication from the 6 teaching precepts of Lord Chaitanya. Prabhupada was very joyful to see that when Janardhan brought it back to him. And Prabhupada would mention that several times as the years went on, that Bhaktivinoda Thakura, that he published this and sent it to the West, because it was in English. But that was about Bhaktivinoda Thakura's vision. English is the most widespread language, and like that, international. It's not the most spoken language, but the most widespread. So Prabhupada said, and that is the year of my birth, 1896. Prabhupada said, like, he would indicate that's meaningful. That's meaningful. That was the year of my birth, the same year that Bhaktivinoda published this and sent it to universities like in Montreal. So again, this morning we read some excerpts from a lecture from Srila Prabhupada. I thought to read here. This is a conversation, and Prabhupada speaking in a conversation. Okay, so Vishnu John asks, when Bhaktivinoda Thakura stated that he was leaving this planet with his work unfinished. So Vishnu John's like trying to understand. Bhaktivinoda Thakura's stated that he was leaving this planet with his work unfinished. So Srila Prabhupada, he responds, then let us finish. We are a descendant of Bhaktivinoda Thakura. So he kept unfinished so that we shall get the chance to finish it. That is his mercy. He could have finished immediately. He is Vaishnava. He is all powerful, but he gave us chance that you foolish people, you also will work. You all also work. That is his mercy. So we should pray to Bhaktivinoda Thakura that we are your grandchildren, great-grandchildren, so we have got some right to beg some mercy from you. The grandchildren get some indulgence from the grandfather. So I pray like that. It is Bhaktivinoda Thakura's mercy. A Vaishnava can. Krishna doesn't require anyone's help. Still, he is asking, surrender to me. He doesn't require anyone's surrender, but it is for him good, one who surrenders. Not Krishna is in need of anyone's service. He is complete, but he comes as if he is in helpless condition and asking for us to surrender. So that is for his good, one who is surrendered. He'll get the result. Krishna is self-sufficient. Similarly, Bhaktivinoda Thakura is self-sufficient, but if he said that I keeping unfinished, that means he gave us the chance, the opportunity. So we should always pray to Bhaktivinoda Thakura to be merciful upon us so that we can execute his unfinished task. That should be our, and never we should think that what Bhaktivinoda Thakura could not finish, I have finished. Prabhupada laughs. Don't think like that. Don't think like that. It is not like that. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Ekikiya Maranahipaya, you have got given index. Prabhupada goes to a next topic. He says, you have not given index that I've instructed. You should now prepare index. Prabhupada's talking to some of those who are involved in the book publishing. And Prabhupada noticed in one of the books there's no index. It's going to a next topic. Okay. All right. Yeah. So yeah, sometimes we hear things like, well, I'll do service, I'll engage in service when I get the mercy. When I get the mercy. So Prabhupada saying the service is the mercy, right? There's lifetimes and lifetimes of service to relieve the burden of Bhaktivinoda Thakura and to relieve the burden of Srila Prabhupada. And that's the mercy that Bhaktivinoda Prabhupada is saying. Bhaktivinoda Thakura, he left us all the mercy in the form of so much service to do, to continue to bring to more and more completion his mission. So Prabhupada's giving so much mercy in the form of his service. There's a statement from Bhaktivinoda Thakura in this regard. Bhaktivinoda Thakura says, he's talking to Krishna. He says, anxieties undertaken in your service are the source of my greatest ecstasy. So there's one place devotees ask something like, so Prabhupada, how can we please Krishna? And Prabhupada responds, by your anxiety. That might not have been the response they were looking for. Maybe they were looking for, take prasad. Or chant, dance, and ecstasy. And those are also true responses. But in this circumstance, maybe Prabhupada saw that, yeah, they were looking for the rainbows and butterflies types of response. So how can you please Krishna? By your anxiety. Right. So Bhaktivinoda said so okay, so here we are. It's like the inauguration of Gopal Eco Village and Cow Sanctuary. Hari Gopal and Nitya Gopal are starting this project. What's that mean? It means lots of anxiety for you.
Lots of mercy.
Lots of mercy. That's the spirit. Yeah, that's the spirit. Yes, but your intention here, right? The Naira families to establish a bhakti-based orthodontic practice in Orlando in full collaboration with Gopal Eco Village. That's nothing except anxiety. You haven't even like established it yet, but already there's so much anxiety. And they're smiling and they're like, Prabhupada House and Mao, nothing but anxiety, right? When you're organizing a program, the inauguration to, yeah, so, okay. And yeah, so maybe someone listening to the class could be like, are they all crazy? Yeah, right. Why not just have a peaceful life? No, I need to take on the burden for Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura. And that's what it is. So, in my experience, 63 years in this body, and then, my services really going back since time immemorial for like 50 years, is in psychology and counseling and, you know, these seminars and people, you know, like that. So far, I haven't met anyone, myself included, who's not like experiencing a lot of struggle and anxiety. So everyone is. And so our choice is to be anxiety about increasing my fame, increasing my sense gratification, anxiety about worrying about my petty problems, or kind of like, yeah, let me accept anxiety. Let me accept anxiety to relieve some of the burden of Srila Prabhupada, some of the burden of Bhaktivinoda Thakura. Let me do something to relieve their anxiety. Of course, that anxiety is the bliss of the soul. That anxiety is the actual bliss of the soul. And then we take on anxiety to serve Krishna, whether it's preparing prasadam, whether it's serving the deities, whether it's arranging for the grand opening tomorrow. So many details. We're doing it for Krishna. Then there's a text from Chaitanya Charitamrita Prabhupada often quotes, Krishna Bhakta Nishkama Ata Eva Shanta. Mukti Mukti Siddhikam Sakaliyas. That really the one who's accepting anxiety for serving Krishna's mission, Lord Chaitanya Sankirtan movement, that's really the only peaceful person. Any other desire, whether it's gross or subtle, that's it's going to be the source of anxiety. Because it's based on the body. So really, Bhaktivinoda Thakura is known for so many things. Certainly, one of them is just this inconceivably empowered visionary, and his vision includes this Gopal eco village and cow sanctuary. So Bhaktivinoda Thakura, yeah, he had 13 children. Talk about anxiety. Yeah, exactly. Right. Okay. So it's significant. Of course, one of his biological children is Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, was the spiritual master Srila Prabhupada. So just if we look at the Parampara, so we say, oh, okay, so to be an acharya in the Parampara, you need to have 13 children. Whoa. Now, because then Gaura Das Babaji, he's a Babaji, complete recluse. He's a disciple of Bhaktivinoda Thakura's spiritual master, Jagannath Das Babaji, complete Babaji renunciation. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, the biological son of Bhaktivinoda Thakura, he was a Naistiki brahmachari, complete celibate for his whole lifetime. No, never intimate connection with women. So we have to be a Naistiki brahmachari to be an acharya. The point is, we look at our parampara that genuine acharya, it's not based on externals. It's not based on externals because we have examples of everything. Srila Prabhupada, he took sannyas, and he was a business person. He was in chemistry, he was in pharmacy, he was in business, he raised a family, and then he took so like we have all these examples externally if we look at our line of pure spiritual teachers. And so Srila Prabhupada in the lecture we studied this morning before japa referenced the verse. So the qualification to be a genuine guru, a genuine spiritual master, the qualification is to be realized in the science of Krishna. Yay, Krishna Tattva Veda. And that's it. And one of the things are like, Prahlad Maharaj was a pure acharya. At 5 years old, he was with his kindergarten mates, and he was being a pure acharya. So it's not based on the age of the body. It's not based on nationality. It's not based. It's not based on whether someone has a child or 13 children or never had any intimate connection with the opposite gender. Like it's just not based on anything external. So that means there's no excuses. Whatever our situation, we're encouraged. We're encouraged. And this is what it means. And sometimes we use these terms in the transformative communication environment: clear intention, consciousness, and the result. It means nothing material can get in the way. If we're sincere to cultivate, to be, and to share Krishna consciousness, nothing can get in the way. Oh, but my upbringing was this. Oh, but I'm in this kind of body. I'm in this. No, if we're sincere, I took your pratiyata, yayatma suprasidati. That no material reason can get in the way of enthusiastically developing, experiencing, and sharing Krishna consciousness. Nothing material can get in the way. Whatever. But I'm having this interpersonal problem or this or that. That might be there. Might deal with it. And so, so our parampara shows that. And there's so much of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura in what we read this morning, the lecture from Srila Prabhupada in London, 1969. Prabhupada shares the story about Bhaktivinoda Thakura standing strong in the face of the pseudo-yogi who said, I'm an incarnation of Vishnu. And there were foolish villagers there in Orissa sending their wives and daughters to do the rasa dance. And Bhaktivinoda Thakura, clear distinction. No, this is nonsense, and nonsense is a generous word. No, this is evil in the name of Vaishnavism. And so this is something else, just to emphasize about Bhaktivinoda Thakura. So at that time, for the most part, mid-late 1800s, Gaudiya Vaishnavism in the name of Lord Chaitanya, 6 Goswamis, it had a bad reputation. For the most part, it was seen by most respectable persons as like a degraded sex cult. It's terrible to say, but it had a bad reputation because in the name of Lord Chaitanya, people like this pseudo yogi, the pseudo false Vishnu that Prabhupada discussed this morning, that Bhaktivinoda Thakura defeated by giving him a haircut. He did. He was like, the yogi had his mystic powers in his hair, like Samson and Delilah, that story from the Bible. And so there were many like that. And it's like very painful and sad. And that's it. So Bhaktivinoda Thakura, it's incredible what he did on so many dimensions, his vision. And like Bhaktivinoda Thakura, he has there's not even like, oh, there's this and there's that. Just like there's so many areas of extraordinary, inconceivable accomplishment of Bhaktivinoda. So he was a prolific writer and poet, and he produced poetry and books in several different languages. So he has this whole set of writings and poetry where he describes, and it's called the Nam Hat. Okay. So Bhaktivinoda Thakura, he was the magistrate. He was, as we read this morning, he was the manager of the Jagannath temple. That's like a major temple. And at the same time, he developed Nam Hat. So Nam is like the holy name. And Hat means marketplace. It means go to the market. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he really established extensively for practicing Krishna consciousness. Yes, yeah, temples that are rigorously according to the six Goswamis, great. And don't be dependent on that. Practice Krishna consciousness in your home. Practice Krishna consciousness in your home, both temples and home. You say like, and he developed an extensive program called Namha. And he said like, and your home programs, and actually you're going to get so popular, because so ecstatic. Okay, then divide up and like 12, 15. All right, then someone else, you start home program, home programs, a few in every neighborhood, every day. That's Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So Namhat, so hat means marketplace. So it's this extensive analogy. And the main trader, the main business person in the marketplace, that's Lord Nityananda. He's the main trader of the nectar of the holy. So it's quite elaborate. But anyway, so everyone has different roles in the marketplace. Everyone has different roles. And then at the very, very end of the descriptions, Bhaktivinoda signs, he signs the writing, the signatures, the lowly sweeper in the marketplace, the lowly sweeper. So he said that his role he defines as sweeper. So that's the lowly sweeper. But there's the seller, and there's the producer, and there's one who's going to eat the fruits, and then there's Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya and the Goswami. Like everyone has a place. And I'm the sweeper. So we can let's unpack that meaning a bit. Right. So that relates to what we read this morning in the pseudo yogi, the false Vishnu, who was like imitating the rasa dance and causing so much disturbance. Mm-hmm. So Bhaktivinoda, his role is sweeper. Like, okay, my role is to keep this clean. My role is to keep this clean, keep this pure and clean. That's my role. And which means, because he could see immediately, no, this is bogus. And even he was polite, he was civil, he was respectful, until the pseudo yogi would say, was he suggesting, why don't you go to Jagannath Puri? Bhaktivinoda Thakur suggested, and then the false Vishnu, the false rasa dancer, said, oh, Jagannath Puri, oh, that's made of wood. I'm the real Vishnu. Then Bhaktivinoda Thakur stopped being civil. Then he stopped being civil. There's arrest him. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur, we probably describe him. So, because this pseudo yogi, but he had real mystic powers, which is not a contradiction. He had material mystic powers. So Bhaktivinoda, all the constables of Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Bhaktivinoda Thakur's family, wife and children, they all got terrible fever. Prabhupada indicates probably they were meant to die, but because there was some protection by Lord Nrsingadev, they just got terrible fever, like on the brink of death. Bhaktivinoda Thakur went home. His wife was like, you just arrested Vishnu. We're all sick. We're all gonna die. Like, you just arrested Vishnu. You know. And he's like, okay, let us die, and he needs to be chastised. He needs to be punished, with whatever the consequences. Then in the courtroom, Bhaktivinoda Thakur could see the mystic powers are in his hair, so he asked some barbers shave his head, and barbers like, I'm not touching, no way. Look, you're like on the brink of death. Your whole family, no. So Bhaktivinoda, okay, give me the scissors. He cut his head. Ultimately, the pseudo yogi committed suicide in prison. So Bhaktivinoda, he's keeping it clean, making distinctions. Okay, what's the genuine article and what's a deviation? Otherwise, even we do something big, if it's a deviation, sure, it's a disturbance, even if it's in the name of bhakti. And that's what was happening. Not all over, there were genuine Vaishnavas. But after the Goswamis, pretty quickly, all these Sahajya sects, means taking Vaishnavism, taking Krishna consciousness, taking them cheap. In the Sahajas, they would criticize the Goswamis because, they were reading and writing all these philosophy books. Oh, we are beyond philosophy. No, they're saying this. It's still happening. But, we're into love for Radha and Krishna. And then after the dance, we smoke bidi and stuff like that. So Bhaktivinoda Thakura, and that means following Bhaktivinoda, following Srila Prabhupada, it's vital that we become expert for ourselves and to protect others, to make distinctions. Here's the authentic thing, and it's like, all the wires are connected. Empowered. Bhaktivinoda, Srila Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta Gorky, Srila Das Prabhupada, 6 Goswamis. And here's a deviation in the name of Lord Chaitanya, in the name of Radha Krishna, in the name of Bhagavatam. And otherwise, to say, well, it's still bhakti, sort of. Prabhupada quotes this verse often. Shruti Smriti Puranadi Pancharatra Vidim Vida Akantiki Harya Bhakti Utpatad Yaeva Kalpate. And that says that bhakti that's not rigorously aligned with the bona fide acharyas, with the Shruti, with the Smriti, with Puranas, with Narada Pancharatra, or even if there's some chanting of the names of God, which is good, but all in all, it's a disturbance. So it's important to, because there's one, so like this philosophy and culture of bhakti, Krishna consciousness, Bhagavad Gita, Bhaktivinoda Thakura. This is just the most complete platform. It's the complete platform for understanding how everything is one and how and the place of all paths. Just 2 days ago, I was coaching someone, and he's kind of been involved with Sofito for about 5-6 years now. And I hadn't seen him for maybe a year or two. Anyhow, he's coming devoutly towards Christianity, towards Jesus. And somehow he's coming to me for a whole package of coaching. And there was a time when he was like chanting 16 rounds per day and things like that. I mean, he's coming in, and so anyhow, we were talking about Christianity, and so I was sharing, and he was appreciating that. I would say my personal story is like, Jesus didn't mean anything for me because I wasn't raised Christian. I was raised in secular Reform Judaism, not really no religion, not much God concept. It wasn't like a staunch atheism, but I had a bar mitzvah, like that. But and Jesus, like, okay, like some respect, nothing. There was really nothing until I came to Prabhupada. Each year, my appreciation for Jesus is deepening. I think that's such this extraordinary personality, this empowered charya, and that's because of Prabhupada. And then and then he was thinking, because like in the brand of Christianity he's getting, he was kind of like the all he could get is like, oh yeah, well those who are chanting Hare Krishna, they're going to burn in hell forever, sort of thing. So kind of like, it's not satisfying for his. See, he's like a real devotion to Jesus, but then through Krishna consciousness, and I'm completely encouraging him, chant rosary, chant the Hail Mary, whatever the prayers are. But he said through this Krishna conscious philosophy, it can accommodate Christianity, but in the version of what's coming down in Christianity that he's getting, it can't really accommodate the completeness of what's it seems kind of narrow to him. So it's important to see kind of like what's kind of like diversity that enriches our realization of Siddhanta. Okay, just like let's say there's a sincere follower of Jesus, a sincere follower in the Madhvacharya or Ramanuja branches of Vaishnavism. Okay, so these are genuine paths. And it's not the same as what Prabhupada's giving. At the same time, it is Achintya Bheda, it's bhakti. It's bhakti. And it's bhakti to the personality of Godhead, and it's all enriching and like that. So yeah, what is kind of like diversity that enriches our perspective and our experience, and what's a deviation? Just like, okay, because we talked about this gross deviation that Bhaktivinoda Thakura, he wasn't like, oh yeah, I'm okay, you're okay. Yeah, if you want to dance with the daughters of like that, because like it's all good. No, arrest him. No, this is evil. Okay, this is a deviation. Okay. There was once, because this I'm okay, you're okay. It's a book by Eric Byrne, a big psychologist from the 1960s. So in a conversation, the devotees mentioned it. Prabhupada didn't seem to understand it, because at one point he said, I'm okay. He said, I'm okay, you're not okay. Of course, he did understand it. So he was playful. So, okay, so the idea of like, let's say you have like, yeah, let's say, if there's a group and they make it part of policy that on the altar, because we should all do what we feel, on the altar, let's put pictures of people who do egregious harm to children. Okay, it's like, well, dear Govinda, you're being really extreme and exaggerating the problem. Yeah, I wish I was. That's happening. It's happening. You mean like in the time of Bhakti? I mean today. Okay, that's happening. Okay, so like maybe there's some humor here. This is gravely serious. So we want to be able to make distinctions. We want to be able to make distinctions. And otherwise, in the name of bhakti, it all becomes more of a disturbance. It becomes a terrible disturbance. Bhaktivinoda, that was a main part of his mission. Right? Here's the actual rigorous path of Lord Chaitanya. And like, let's say like a genuine follower of Jesus, completely part of that. But then in the name of bhakti, there's so much gross repulsive deviations in the name of that path. And that requires spiritual intelligence to make those distinctions. So that's a main mission of Bhaktivinoda Thakura, main mission of his son, Srila Bhaktivinoda, main mission of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada, he just gave holy name, prasad, kirtan, philosophy, and also part of Prabhupada's mission, make his rigorous philosophy to make the subtle nuanced distinctions to see like, yes, this is the pure thing. See, because even if like, well, I'm far from here. Okay, I'm far from pure. I'm not. But at least we want to know what is the pure path. What is the pure path? And it's like, yeah, and in 40 years, I'm making 1 inch of progress on the path. Okay, at least we know what the path is. Or even like, I'm lost in the forest. And I'm not even on the path, but at least I know what the pure path is. That's vital. Otherwise, if in the name of the actual path, there's all this sentimentality that does harm, just like, this pseudo yogi, sentimental, and those he had followers, sentimental, doing lots of, not just sentimental, oh well, okay, no, it does lots of harm. So this is vital. This is key. All right. One closing thing in a book that we published a few weeks ago in April, we quote Bhaktivinoda Thakura. So I just thought to read that quote because for me it represents another aspect of Bhaktivinoda Thakura's life and teachings. So this is from Bhaktivinoda Thakura, the Bhagavat, its philosophy Ethics and Theology, which is it's actually a transcription of a speech that he gave in India. It's mind-boggling. It's really far out, and it's wonderful reading. Anyhow, it's a short quote in English. So Bhaktivinoda Thakura says, right? Oh, what a trouble to get rid of prejudices gathered in unripe years. Oh, what a trouble to get rid of prejudice. So Bhaktivinoda Thakura, in his pastimes, he grew up, and he was like he got trained as like an intellectual in the British Bengali education system there in the 1800s. Okay, much like the liberal, progressive, secular humanists of today. Okay, and so it was like that. It was that the version of that there, whatever the 1850s, 1860s, young and the idea was because Britain was successful in the Vedas are very degraded compared to the Western culture. And so Bhaktivinoda and his friends, they would maybe go to the Vedas, but the impersonal parts, ultimately God is formless and it's a concept. This is very intellectual. Bhaktivinoda Thakura, he has, I didn't bring them here, but he has statements. He said, in later years, he wrote, I hated the Bhagavatam. I hated the Bhagavatam. This was so primitive and yes, and unsophisticated, and like that's so beneath us. I hated the Bhagavatam. Then Bhaktivinoda Thakura, he somehow stumbled upon a manuscript of Chaitanya Charitamrita, like the original Chaitanya Charitamrita. And it wasn't like, why don't you just go to the bookstore and buy it? So this is like 1850 or 1860. So he somehow he was curious enough. This is, of course, he's pure devotee from birth, but it's his pastime. He still and so he read Chaitanya Charitamrita by Krishnadas Kaviraj cover to cover, transformed his life. Then and then so much of his writings was exposing the incompleteness of this kind of, let's call it in today's language, secular humanism, the Brahma, what would be the name? Anyhow, there was the name of those young Bengali intellectuals of the mid 1800s, late 1800s. And so Bhaktivinoda Thakura in that say, oh, to get rid of prejudices from early years, because he's sharing his personal struggle. So I can relate to that. Or, like the concepts I grew up with in school and college, and there's a bhajan by Bhaktivinoda Thakura where he sings that yes, the more one gets educated, the more what's in this miasmic swamp of Kali Yuga, the more one gets educated, the more one becomes a complete ass. Complete ass. Danielle's enthusiastically agreeing. Right. Of course, one can go into the higher education systems, and if one's very strong and guided in Krishna consciousness, one can bring Krishna consciousness in there. But for the most part, Prabhupada, following the line of Bhaktivinoda Thakura, said it's a slaughterhouse. And we see so many examples. Just apparently sincere devotees, they'll go into the education system, they just get so spun around and they don't know which way's up and like that. So Bhaktivinoda Thakura is struggling, and so I think we can look at to really get out of the box and appreciate what Bhaktivinoda Thakura and Srila Prabhupada are giving requires getting out of the limited 9 dots, the limited box of our conditioning, especially educational conditioning. Hare Krishna. Thanks for your presence. Thanks for hearing about Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura. Hare Krishna. I welcome if anyone would like to share any comments, inspirations, realizations, or ask any questions. At this time, here we are at Gopal Eco Village in Cal Sanctuary, the anniversary of the disappearance day of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura. He disappeared on this lunar day in 1914, if I remember correctly, 1914, so 110 years ago. Hare Krishna. Danielle.
Really fascinated with the idea of being able to change our minds. I really appreciate him having that pastime.
Yeah.
For me, I feel like that's very supportive and relevant for my process, because if he gets to change his mind, then that's nice.
It's encouraging.
Yeah, okay, I was wrong. How about that? It's good to have that example. It was very enlivening, uplifting. And then also I have a question, just because you kind of went there in your class a little bit. I've heard that I've experienced also in many great wisdom traditions that there are these disturbances, these really degraded, grungy, destructive, violent, terrible atrocities that are being committed in the name of God.
Yeah, of course, yes.
And so I've heard, and I don't know if this is true, so I'm just asking, that there's a almost like a Kamsa-like energy, or like demons that are coming to sort of integrate under the guise or the illusion, because we can see like in the dirty places, right, that we know that there's going to be Kali's going to be there. We don't expect, at least I don't expect, that when you go to the church or you go to the temple or you go to the mosque, you're going to have that experience. But that there's almost like a Kamsa-like presence, or like an adversarial, like Satan-like presence or personality that has a mission, especially to attack the children as young as possible. Get them just take them out before they can grow and become great.
The Putin archetype.
Correct. Yes. Get them addicted to drugs and take them out, or whatever they can do to keep them from growing up, especially as strong devotees of the Lord. So is that like a real archetype thing and what is happening cosmically? What is this how does that because we're talking about Christianity a little bit, how does that interface with a Satan-like personality? What is that happening? What's there?
Okay. As you were speaking, I heard the resist making a few utterances. Would you like to share comments with me?
Well, Kali's a personality, so he is present. And there's just like when Lord Krishna was present, there was concept who couldn't stand Lord Vishnu, and he knew, he heard a voice in the sky saying that the 8th child of Vasudeva and Devaki, your sister, is going to kill you. Yes. So it's a pastime, when the golden age is starting, and Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura prophesies that the whole world will come together and chant the holy names of the Lord. So we're coming very close to that time. And so there's all these personalities that are part of the pastime to stop it from happening. And so they very easily infiltrate the purest of the purest movement, Srila Prabhupada's movement, and it's just their nature. I mean, everyone has their nature, but they specifically have come with their heart in the pastime. I mean, they've been doing this for many yugas. It's not just the first time. You know, it's like Lord Krishna comes and he incarnates in different yugas, and then his associates come and they come. So it's the same thing. You know, it's very hard for us to understand, but I saw it with my own eyes. I experienced it as a child. And I know that they're completely covered over. They think that they're way better than Krishna, and that they have the power to stop innocent, beautiful, wonderful jivas from being part of Lord Chaitanya's movement. And that's their duty. So that's what happens. They allow themselves to be completely covered over because that's what they came for. And yeah, nowadays in Kali Yuga, things have just become so, I mean, it's always been there. The same exact things, Kali Puja, you know, you read in the Shastras, there's always the demons worshiping Lord Shiva to attain more and more power to be able to overthrow the demigods. It's all going on since, you know, since the whole Bhagavatam talks about it. You know, we hear story after story in the Mahabharata, and you know, all of the different Puranas, like these personalities come specifically for stopping the devotees from worshiping Lord Krishna. And so it's going on again. And the Kali Yuga.
It's part of the cosmic play, but there are people who want to be
Part of Lord
separate.
Chaitanya's Leela.
Or Lord Chaitanya's Leela, okay.
Yes, he was just here so recently, and we are under the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. That's you know, Srila Prabhupada is directly come from Goloka Vrindavan. He didn't have to come, but he was asked to come specifically for us. You know, and he is delivering so many Jagais in our lives. I mean, I'm like definitely a Jagai. You know, I'm so completely like 100% only here because of Srila Prabhupada's mercy. Because in past lives, you know, I did so many heinous things to actually get what I deserved. And by his mercy, he's lifting me up from all that I'm up. You know, and it's by Srila Prabhupada's mercy that, and our desire to serve him, that he is giving us this chance. You know, and we have that free will, like you said, you know, I have that, I can change my mind in any moment. Just like, you know, you've given your sincere your life, you're sincerely giving it to Srila Prabhupada, very easily you can one day say, oh my God, what happened to me? Oh my God, I must have been like on another, you know, whatever. I think I'd rather do what I could be doing over there. You know, very easily we have that free will. It's the most beautiful gift that we have. And Srila Prabhupada is facilitating us in every way for you know, he's a representative of Srila Prabhupada, and he's here for you and so many other devotees. So we're able to get that association. You know, Srila Prabhupada set up the morning program, the temples. He said you can do this at your house, like if you're serious enough and you are advanced enough, you can do it just with your family. But if you need, here's the temple. Here's all this association, all this service that helps us to connect with our deities, right? In the forms of bringing time. his virtues, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't wanna get into the dark side because it's so dark, but I think from above, there's so much more to see that's so beautiful.
So it's Krishna or Chaitanya reciprocating with the desires of those who want to be adversarial.
Yeah, I mean, there's always gonna be these souls that wanna be covered over, actually blind. I mean, you know, that's why Srila Prabhupada, he said, you have to be so careful who you hear from. Even the holy names of the Lord, the Maha Mantra, he said hearing the Maha Mantra from the wrong source was like getting poison from a snake.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine? And that's so serious. You know, and how many of us are getting that? How many of us are actually listening and following to his words? Because there's so much there, there's so much detail.
Thank you, Rukmini. Thank you, thinking in this, because so let's look, it's pastime. At the same time, yeah, just like to look at that. So let's say the crucifixion of Jesus, that's pastime, co-created between Jesus and Krishna. At the same time, does that mean that the Romans who hammered in the nails, they're pure devotees? Not necessarily, but they are participating in the pastime. So similarly, with Bhaktivinoda's pastime, you can see like the pseudo yogi we read about. He's participating in the pastime, but as far as we're aware, no, he was like quite a dark character, quite a dark character. There's a statement from Srila Bhaktivinoda Saraswati, the son of Bhaktivinoda Thakura, the spiritual master of Srila Prabhupada. I won't get it exactly, but something to the effect of, well, one thing he says, the church that has the best chance of survival in this damned world, I used the term, this miasmic swamp of Kali Yuga. The church that has the best chance of survival is the church that is atheism under the guise of theism. And they went on to say that the established churches are and will continue to be in this age the reservoirs of the most abominable crimes, and the leaders of the established churches and the participants in the established churches, their crimes, of course, Bhaktivedanta, he writes in very sophisticated language, but he says like their crimes make the non-ecclesiastical criminals, I mean just the ordinary criminals like ordinary murderers and thieves, that make the non-ecclesiastical criminals cringe with disgust. And so so we can see that's true. As Rukmini said, we don't want to get into details, but we can see that what's happening, so much of what's happening in the name of religion and bhakti, it's actually crimes that even just like your ordinary inhabitants of the prison would just be completely disgusted. So it's, and okay, as Rukmini emphasized, so when there's a powerful pure movement, we can expect there's going to be diabolical, sinister opposition. And that relates to a point we emphasize, that Bhaktivinoda emphasized, that Srila Prabhupada emphasized, means like we want to feel the weight of being able to make distinctions. What's the real article and what's sentimental deviation in the name of bhakti. And as we said, there have been over the ages, generations, and centuries, so much sentimental deviation in the name of bhakti that at the time of Bhaktivinoda Thakura, Gaudiya Vaishnavism had a terrible reputation. And Bhaktivinoda Thakura, he was part of those who severely criticized Gaudiya Vaishnavism. He hated the Bhagavatam. Then he had his transformation, his pastime. And so, oh, this is the real thing. This is the most beautiful. This is truth. This is power. This is glory. This is divinity. All right. And then he saw the importance of making those distinctions and standing strong against such pseudo perversions as the pseudo Vishnu was standing for. So those corruptions, those diabolical oppositions to the actual, to the genuine article of Srila Prabhupada's movement, they're happening today. Have your eyes open. Have my eyes open. It's not about living in fear. It is about joyfully practicing Krishna consciousness and establishing inspiring projects such as Gopal Eco Village, and being rigorous about boundaries, about clarity, about unity and diversity, and what's the difference between a genuine diverse view that's a natural personal expression that's on the foundation of what Prabhupada gave, and what's a deviation. And they're like the terrible deviations that Rukmini's referring to. They've infiltrated Prabhupada's movement. Again, I'm not going to go into details here. But now they're all cleaned up, wrong. So thanks for your question. Neela Shyam Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
So it's very revealing that you said that Bhaktivinoda Thakura had expected that all the established great theistic institutions are basically at core proposing atheistic philosophies and the dark, sinister movements which entered into any pure movement. Now here we are starting a brand new Gopal Eco Village.
Right.
How do we prevent that sinister movement to enter into ours as we grow?
Yeah.
What is the secret? What is the secret to keep such sinister movements away so that we can maintain the purity and we want to grow too, because that is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wants us to do, is to spread Krishna consciousness as far and as much as possible. So the answer doesn't lie in let's stay small, let's stay like a preaching center, let's do this. But then at the same time, this is Kali Yuga, and in Kali Yuga, we are going to have these diabolical opposites who are going to infiltrate. So what is the answer? And that was part one of mine. And then part two, when I was listening to Mataji, this question always comes in my mind. Because when you hear people talking about the Maha Mantra, and they say that, and Prabhupada also says, of course, I'm not chanting the Maha Mantra offenselessly, but he says, even with offenses, you should chant.
Keep chanting.
Keep chanting. How do we know that the power of the Maha Mantra, even though it is coming from a non-devotee's lips, which Prabhupada says very clearly, you should avoid it as much as milk touched by a serpent. Then what happens to those who are chanting those kinds of, or hearing it from that Maha Mantra? So, is the Maha Mantra that powerful? Or is it that we have to be very cautious also at that? So, what is the whole thing? Because my question always, even with Madhu Pandit Prabhu, was the same thing, is what happens to the people who are chanting the name, who are coming from the sinister side, who have been given that initiation and going to that? What happens to them?
I appreciate very much your questions, Prabhu. Thank you. Great questions, in my opinion. Thank you. Okay, so a few things that are coming to me. Yeah, for sure, because like we quoted Bhaktisiddhanta about institutional religion in this age, and the like even non-ecclesiastical criminals are disgusted at the crimes that go on there. We can give examples, but we won't here. At the same time, yeah, we're not against institutions. We're not against structure. Srila Prabhupada established structures. Bhaktisiddhanta established structures. So we're not attached to structure. We're cultivating and sharing Krishna consciousness, but we're not opposed. We're not impersonalists. Structure can be used in Krishna consciousness. I'm reminded in the book Blazing Sadhus by Achyutananda Prabhu. It's like some of his memoirs of his times with Prabhupada, especially 66, 67. That Achyutananda, he was there in 1960, July 1966, Second Avenue, and they actually got the incorporation of ISKCON, and they brought the paper to Prabhupada. Prabhupada was very happy, and Prabhupada said, I don't have the exact quote, but it's in the book Blazing Sadhus, and then Prabhupada said, now we can use this ISKCON just to expand the movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and if at some point it's no longer helpful, then we get rid of it. Like, so Prabhupada, he uses structure, not attached to any particular structure. So you're, a saying from Prabhupada, purity is the force. And that starts with me. Here, I was asked to do this service. I'm giving a class. Sometimes we're giving it, sometimes we listen to class, whatever. Okay, so I get to what extent am I doing this to please Prabhupada and to inspire Krishna consciousness? To what extent am I doing this to be appreciated? Or, people, I quoted a verse, how much of my material ego is invested? So because whether it is a preaching center of 2 or 3, whether it's a bhakti village of 30,000, okay, whatever, it's comprised of individuals, of spiritual beings in bodies, and to what extent am I to what extent am I serving the demoniac infiltration of the pure thing, and to what extent am I really humbly being a street sweeper? Earlier we talked about Bhaktivinoda Thakura, such a visionary, right? We're here because of Bhaktivinoda Thakura's vision, and Bhaktivinoda Thakura, he elaborated on the Namahat, right? This extensive marketplace of the holy name, and everyone has their place. The main trader is Lord Nityananda. Everyone has their place, the seller, the producer. And he saw that his role is he would sign his letters, he would sign his writings, the lowly street sweeper in the marketplace. Means like his role is to keep it clean. So it starts with each of us as individuals. I'm just writing a letter. Actually, I was writing a letter yesterday to my partner, Pradarshak Guru, Stambadas Prabhu, who's in High Springs, Florida. He's the one, he was running a center in State College, Pennsylvania in the late 70s, early 80s. That's where I got introduced to Krishna consciousness. So, and he's a very intellectual devotee, very fine, deep devotee. But I was writing to him the importance for me to surround myself with people who have enough care and courage to give me honest feedback, right? Because there's the metaphor of the Bhakti Lodge beach, the flower of devotion. We water the flower, then we need to pull the weeds. So left to myself, the weeds in my heart, I will see them as pretty flowers. The weeds in your heart, they're really ugly. You need to pull the weeds in your heart, Prabhu. You need to pull the weeds in your heart, all that arrogance and deception. But the weeds in mine, no, these are actually flowers. So it's important in real community to be able to communicate, to surround ourselves with people who we trust. Not that we blindly accept their point of view, but okay, that's actually arrogance, that's laziness. So in a community where there's real communication, we help each other in seeing what's in our consciousness And Siddhanta, reading Prabhupada's books, we're able to make distinctions that we don't just get sentimentally. It's like, oh, the way he wears his dhoti, he must be a pure devotee. I'm exaggerating, but I'm not. I'm exaggerating, but I'm not. I've seen like worse sentimental than that. No, I could just tell by the way he, oh yes, the way he, yeah. And then people just get fooled. So it's just like it's like if we don't laugh, we'll cry, because this is very real. So read Prabhupada's books, have discussions on Prabhupada's books, like we do each morning class, evening class, personal reading. So when someone comes up with nonsense on the altar, on the Vyasa sun, okay. But when I made that reference earlier, like, yeah, like if it's a place where they make it policy that people who harm children in egregious ways, their pictures on the altar with Radharani. No, not happening. It's happening. It's happening like all day long. Yeah. So again, so like if we're really hear from Prabhupada, surround ourselves with people who will kind of caringly point out where they see something might be off in me. So then so in that way, like real community is built on real communication. Rupa Goswami talks about Datati Patigrinati Guyam Akati Prichati. In genuine Vaishnava relationships, there's a culture where it's a safe, sacred space in each relationship to share the heart and mind confidentially, where we help each other take a look at what's a flower. Where am I deceiving myself? Yes, where am I losing my enthusiasm, and what's a shadow, and what's the actual son of Krishna? So sure, on an organizational meta scale, we could also address that, but I'm talking more on an individual basis. To what extent am I approaching my service with purity and humility in the spirit of the street sweeper, and inviting you to help me clean the garden of my heart? So, okay. And then another related part of your question. Here's the thing, because we're talking a lot about the Sahajiyas here. Prabhupada identifies 13 different Sahajiya sects and Mayavadis, and all these deviations. Mayavad and Sahajiya, sometimes they're seen as different, but they're really different sides of the same coin. So like the idea of Sahajiya is to try to bring gross matter, like Krishna likes to enjoy this, right? Like the pseudo yogi that was dancing in the forest. The idea was like, it's just like gross matter, gross bodies. I guess some Krishna and Radha like to enjoy it, just like bring gross matter to the spiritual platform artificially. And Mayavad is trying to bring pure spirit to the material platform. Okay, Krishna's body is Maya. Okay, or yes, or, yeah. Okay, there's different forms of it, or to minimize, or to to see what Srila Prabhupada, there's this whole publication was all about, because there's growing movements to relativize Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada was influenced by material culture, and he's subject to mistakes. It's bringing pure spirit down to the material platform. So Prabhupada, so this is so dangerous, the Sahaji mentality, even if they chant Hare Krishna, even if they chant some pseudo mantra, which might have the names of God. Nitai Gaura Radhe Sham Hare Krishna Hare Ram. Don't chant that. It's there. But Prabhupada gives some examples of it. But in one sense, so Prabhupada would say that even those who are chanting these bogus mantras, because there's some names of God there, what they're doing is a disturbance, and we don't want to support it, but they make some progress. They make some progress too. Even sometimes people say they're devotees. They're bewildered, they're acting in demoniac ways in some ways, they're doing harm, but they're making some progress. And maybe the progress they're making will be manifest maybe in the next life. They'll have enough in spiritual intelligence to follow a genuinely pure acharya. But Prabhupada said, he said that even they're making some progress. So the holy name is very powerful, and simultaneously, the analogy Rukmini gave, which is Prabhupada's analogy, just like milk touched by the lips of a serpent, milk touched by the lips of a serpent. And so, in a sense, the milk is always pure. The milk is always pure, but if we drink milk touched by liquid, it's going to have a poisonous effect on our spiritual life. But it's not that the milk's contaminated. So even if we hear from an improper source, which we don't want to do, we don't want to encourage others to do, but there's some benefit there. That's my understanding. Nitya Gopal proves.
So your discussion is telling something interesting here.
Yeah.
And you see Bhaktivinoda Thakura as one of the reformer, internal reformer and the external reformer.
Yeah.
And he's also known as the seventh Goswami.
He was known as the seventh Goswami. Yeah.
So he's the one who revived the teaching of Goswami's back,
Yeah.
which got lost because of the Sahajism and the kind of external.
Yeah.
pressures.
He brought it back. Yeah.
And if each acharya in a parampara has a specific role to play,
Yeah.
that the movement can grow to its pinnacle where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu really wants.
Yeah.
So if let's say Bhaktivinoda would have not appeared and he would have not reformed all those degradations, all those, as you said, the terrible kind of situation what was in the Gaudiya Vaishnavism.
Yeah.
And Srila Prabhupada would not have that platform that he could spread this movement all across the world.
Yes.
So in a way, Bhaktivinoda was preparing a platform for Prabhupada to grow that movement to a worldwide movement.
Yeah.
So that is a very specific, and I can just imagine if, let's say he was not there,
Yeah.
then all those Sahajism would have infiltrated in a much more larger scale in the organizational scale.
Yeah.
That is what I was trying. And
Thanks for
second
that. Thanks for that. Yeah.
point- And second point is, he's not only the way you were mentioning that he's not only reforming externally,
Yeah.
he also wrote a lot of literatures wherein he points out the demons within.
Yeah.
Like he has a book, Krishna Samhita,
Yes. Krishna Shiva.
where he points out that each and every demon in Krishna's pastimes
Right.
actually are demon within us.
Within us. Yes.
Like Bakasura, he mentioned that he's a demon of duplicity within,
Yeah.
dishonesty, or being integral part, like in integration with your own true self.
Yeah.
He mentioned that it is a demon which you have to kill within. The point which you are mentioning, that the external reformation and the internal reformation.
Thanks for that, Prabhu. Thank you.
We also rediscovered Lord Chaitanya's birthplace.
Yes, he did with Jagannath Das Babaji. Yeah, and another amazing pastime. Bhaktivinoda Thakura. Yeah, this idea of demons or Satan. Yes, in Bhagavatam, it's not there's no eternal damnation. So even the most hardcore demoniac infiltrators of a pure movement, they're spirit souls and covered. Ultimately, they're spirit souls and they're servants of Krishna too. And so, yeah, like the Pralambasura, that's like, okay, to what extent in where I'm being a friend in the name of friendship and love, to what extent am I taking someone further away from Krishna and self-realization? To what extent are friends in my life, or people who love me, to what extent are they actually taking me further from the ultimate aim for a spirit soul in a human form? And it's not about pointing the finger, it's about what is it in me that wants to be dragged away? Because the Columbusura was a friend and dragging him away from Krishna. Balaram realized that, boom, no more.
Also, about taking anxiety.
Yeah,
It very much relates to and very much connected to the infiltration of different satanic energy in the movement. That the process which we are in, the process of chanting Hare Krishna and then cleaning our heart and
Yeah.
extracting our process to go back to Godhead. So it's an easy process, very
Yeah.
easy process.
Yeah.
At the same time, the purification, the kind of a result what great yogis get after performing the process of hundreds and thousands of lifetimes.
yes.
If we go to get same result in one lifetime by chanting Hare Krishna,
Yeah.
so there has to be we have to pay some cost.
Yeah.
Some cost of heavy transformation.
Yeah.
So in a sense, how I see it as that these satanic energy is like providing a facility for me to get transformed.
Yeah.
To burn my own karma.
Yeah,
And also because anyways I have to burn my karma.
Yeah.
One way or other.
Yeah.
So if I burn my karma in this particular way, which like taking anxiety for my own purification.
yes.
And it's like and karma is fixed in a prarabdha karma what I have in this lifetime. The bad karma and the good karma. The bad karma will give you pain. So pain is fixed in this particular way. So if I take pain for my own purification, pain for taking anxiety for Krishna, actually I'm burning the pain, karmic pain, which I want to experience it anyways.
Yeah.
So in that way, taking that spirit, it also helps us.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, I've seen in my mother in a lot of pain all the time. She has degenerated bones in her spine.
Yeah.
But she just offers that pain and
Mm.
service, like
To Krishna,
she doesn't take any meds.
Wow.
Nothing,
amazing.
she just has to transform like the pain into more shelter, taking more shelter of Krishna and Srila Bhaktivinoda. So it's like Srila Prabhupada showed us.
Yeah.
He was on his, bed, ready to leave
Yeah,
at any
yeah,
moment. He
yeah.
chose when he wanted to leave.
Yeah, he
the
chose.
poison that they gave him,
Right.
we would be gone in a second.
We would have been going,
He stayed for months.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
A year.
Yeah.
And,
He did, he
and
did.
it was still translating.
yeah, amazing. Very
completely
lucidly,
Beyond any physical realm. He was completely connected to Krishna. 100%. So I have my mother, I live with her and I see on a regular basis, she's in so much pain. But she's still every day getting up, chanting, doing her
Amazing.
service, feeding the cows, cleaning after the cows, getting all of their food and, she's doing everything so meticulously, absorbing her mind in that service. So the pain goes away actually when we're serving, we're giving our hearts and our mind and our body to Krishna. We have to go beyond. I see she's going beyond the physical realm. And she's in the spiritual realm.
See, this is a very important point, I think, which you have raised. Is that many a times we talk about our prarabdha karmas.
Yeah.
But if you're true devotees, where's prarabdha karma? If you believe in 1866, Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam praja ham tva sarva papebhyo. Sarva papebhyo.
So,
He's not talking about only some papebhyo, sarva papebhyo. So if you believe in that, where is the prarabdha coming from? So whatever pain as a devotee you experience, it is not because of your prarabdha karma. That's what I feel. Maybe Prabhuji can say that. But it is a test from Krishna on your bhakti. How strong is your bhakti? How strong is your determination? Remember, Prabhupada says this is an endeavor. What do you mean by endeavor? By definition, what is endeavor? Endeavor is great effort is needed to accomplish a certain task. That is the definition of endeavor. He does not use, it's a lot of patience. No, he says it's endeavor. It incorporates everything of it. your determination, your desire, the pains which you are being inflicted upon is your test. Now you show me, you want bhakti? Okay, fine, now show me your bhakti. So there is no prarabdha which is affecting you. It is direct communication of Krishna. And what do we say when we hit our toe or anything, or when we have suddenly inflicted pains? What do we say? Most people, oh God. Or, in our language, we say, oh ma, mother. Epitome of love.
American, we say, wow.
Yeah, and it depends on your stuff also. Some people will swear, but it depends on your tendencies. So the question is, me also, when I was saying, I would swear. And then as you chant, you say, oh, then you start saying, oh Krishna, why did you do it? But that's the thing, I want to see how spontaneous your response is to pain. You see? So that is what I think, but Prabhuji, you may correct.
I appreciate, yeah, the philosophy is right on there. 1866 in the 4th chapter, Krishna says very clearly, engaging in bhakti, and Prabhupada says very clearly, talks about prarabdha, engaging in bhakti, it burns to ashes the karma even at the very seed. And Prabhupada emphasized that. So just like, you're just completely confirming what Prabhupada and Krishna are giving, even at the very seed. And there's a pastime in the 5th canto with Jad Bharat and Bharat Maharaj. It's an interesting pastime because, Bharat Maharaj, and then he got affection for the deer, and then he was chasing the deer, then he fell, banged his head on a rock. And then there's a verse where it appears like that it's karma. And it says, but it's not his karma because he was at the bhava stage. So Prabhupada says it's an apparent contradiction. But Srila Prabhupada, he says, consistent with what you're saying, Nilasham Prabhu. Prabhupada says that it's not karma, but Krishna sometimes uses the karma of his sincere devotee. So it's not karma in the sense for someone like Jad Bharat or a pure devotee or an almost pure devotee. Jad Bharat, he was like, not quite clear. He said, it's not karma in the sense of like the machine material energy, but it's still Krishna is using this past karma for the test, for the purification. And so that's it, like that's really enlightened, that to spontaneous. There's that verse from the 10th canto, 14th chapter, text 8, I believe, spoken by Lord Brahma. Tate no kampamsa samikshamano ujana eva makritam vipakam vivadva purbir vitadana maste jigeti yomukti patesa. Brahma said, the devotional heart, devotional consciousness, that whatever happens, even and especially when things are not how I would write the script, just responds with deepened enthusiasm to serve Krishna. That's liberation. That's liberation. Then everything spiritual, because everything, whether it's material, good or bad, Vaite Bhaja Braja Yana Sabu Mano Dharm, Lord Chaitanya says this conception of good or bad in the material realm, it's all a mistake, it's all an illusion. Materially, everything's bad. Oh no, but it's good, I got a raise, my health is, no, it's all bad. If to the extent that we're not using it in a way that deepens our realization of who we are as not this body, spirit, soul, servant of Krishna, and to the extent spiritual consciousness, then everything's absolutely good, even if it's externally, whether in health or finances or relationships, it's apparently good or bad. But we use everything to deepen our, I like how you toward the beginning of the class, you quoted from Prabhupada. The devotees asked him, how can we please Krishna? And Prabhupada said, by your anxiety. He didn't say by dancing in joy, which is all, that's also true. By taking prasad, develop spiritual anxiety to serve Krishna by developing Gopal Eco Village. Bhaktivinoda Thakura statement, we started the presentation there. Bhaktivinoda Thakura said, anxieties undertaken in your service are the source of my greatest joy. That's that endeavor, that like being willing to do the heavy lifting to make a difference, to serve Prabhupada's movement in a substantial way, starting with the heavy lifting of following Prabhupada, chanting 16 rounds per day and following the regular principles and rising for morning program, whether I feel like it or not. Hare Krishna.
The point which Guru was mentioning about Pravartana also, where he mentioned about at the same time, Krishna also mentioned the Bhagavad Gita, "Ye yathanam prapadyante tam taya vadami." So surrender is not, okay, you surrender, everything is gone. It's not like this. It's like reciprocal. How much you surrender, that much karma will be removed.
Yeah.
That is one thing. And the verse you mentioned from Tatyen Kampasam Vichamana.
Yeah.
In that verse also Brahma says, Gunjana eva atma kritam upaham.
Yeah.
Brahma is saying, it is my karma, I accept it. Gunjana eva atma, it is my own karma which is coming to me. He is not saying, you are giving this to me. It is mine and you are using it for my purification.
Yeah.
And everybody will go through their own scheme, their own lifestyle, their own different ways of testing. It would depend upon what kind of karma they are carrying in this lifetime, and Krishna would masterfully use that karma to purify it. So karma still remains, but the way Krishna uses it changes, its meaning changes.
Yeah,
Right.
Srila Prabhupada, I remember he said he minimizes.
Yeah.
Your arm was supposed to be cut, but you got cut instead. So it's very different.
The intensity is very different.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll close with it. In the foreword of the second edition of a book I authored a few years ago, Relationships That Work, The Power of Conscious Living, the foreword is written by Peter Burwash. Peter Burwash, he was actually a tennis pro who had a lot of association with Srila Prabhupada. And Peter Burwash writes in the foreword that he was going through a tough time. He was cheated by a business partner. And then he mentions in the foreword of the book that a spiritual teacher who was Srila Prabhupada, he met Prabhupada, it was either 76 or 77 in Mayapur. The spiritual teacher told him the two most important things he ever heard. One, spiritual life begins when you understand the law of karma. Two, don't be angry at the instrument of your karma. So this Tate Nukampam verse that means spiritual life begins when we understand the law of karma. Karma there is synonymous with radical 100% personal responsibility. As you were saying, Ujjana Eva, it's my karma. It's not like there's something unfair here. No, just maybe I'm being treated apparently unfair. But that pain that someone's causing to me, whether it's a mosquito or a person or a disease, I cause that exact pain. I cause that pain to someone else. Maybe I'm remembering, maybe I'm not remembering, maybe a previous life. So Prabhupada said that's the foundation for progress in spiritual life. Accepting I'm completely responsible for the context of my life, including the exact body that I got. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Gopal Eco Village and Cow Sanctuary ki. Hare Krishna.
Krishna,